All right. Excited to have everybody here today. Looks like there's quite a few, which is fun. Is Mike Wallace here yet? No? All right. He said he'd be here soon. Yeah. Let's just jump into it so we get everyone running through their lunch break. All right. Let's see, guest. Let's see what I got here. Perfect. All right. Um, we want to run around do a couple introductions. I know we know each other, but just for our guest, we can start with Rita. 15 second.
I don't know why you guys do this to me. Every time I'm never ready. Rita McGee, local state planning attorney here in San Dimas.
Perfect. Raymond.
Raymond Foster, President of San Dimas Rotary Foundation, Secretary of the Rotary Club of San Dimas.
Glenn.
Glenn Johnson, member of the Satellite Club of Military Family Support.
Perfect. Derek.
Derek Bapanu, member of the San Dimas Rotary Club.
Wonderful. Connie.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Connie Gardner, and I'm the director of the Office of the CEO for Endeavors. I'm here with Chip.
Perfect. Marianne.
Marianne Kistler, current foundation chair.
Wonderful. As you know, Dominic Torres, the chair of this lovely group. So with that said, let's jump in with our speaker. Chip, go ahead.
Hey, it's great to be with you guys. I appreciate the chance to tell you a little bit about Endeavors and who we are and how we are serving and the impact that we are trying to make for a variety of different populations, but in particular active duty first responders, veterans, and their families. So when I was talking with Connie about this, and by the way, you see, Connie doesn't let me do anything by myself. She's afraid I'll screw it up, so that's why she's on here. But she said that you guys wanted to know a little bit about me, so I'll tell you a little bit about my background. We'll talk a little bit about Endeavors. As I said, we'll talk about who we are, the work we do, and then we'll try to answer any questions you guys might have, if that sounds reasonable to you guys.
Perfect.
So I got to start by telling you that when I was a kid, the only thing I ever won in life was we bought a raffle ticket from a Rotary Club, and I won a 10-speed bicycle and got my picture in the paper. So I have a fondness for the Rotary Clubs across America because it was the only thing I ever won. But I grew up in a small town in Goldsboro, North Carolina, home of Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. I say that because it was there, but I didn't really know it was there. As a kid growing up, it was really hard to get on the base, and unless you had a direct connection with the base, you really didn't have any interaction with them. It's not like it is today where they're much more involved in the community, and they had a pretty classified mission with B-52s, so they sort of did their own thing. My only connection with the military was my dad spent 2 years in Korea or in Japan. And served for 2 years, but never really talked much about it. He did go to a military school, and when I was a senior in high school, I was ready to go to the University of North Carolina, and I had gotten in and was ready to go, and something came over me that said if I go, I'll never come out. Because I like to have fun at the time, and I thought I needed discipline. I don't know where that came from. My dad to this day still goes, I don't know why you went there. But I ended up going to the Citadel, which is a military school in South Carolina, and you have to take ROTC to graduate, but you don't have to go in. And people join the military for a variety of reasons. I'll tell you why I joined. So in between my sophomore and junior year, they handed me a contract and said, with this contract comes $100 a month. I had $0 a month. 100 looked better than zero. So I joined. I actually joined to be a lawyer. This is one of the first lessons I learned about the military. It just depends on who you talk to as to what information you get. So they said I could if I got into law school, I could go be a lawyer in the military. They wouldn't pay for it, but they would give me an educational delay. So I got into law school, and then a new guy came and said, I don't know who told you that, but you're not going to law school. You're going in the Air Force as an officer. So I I started with a 4-year commitment, ended up spending 28 years in the Air Force. Incredibly blessed to be a part of the greatest Air Force the world has ever seen and to get to serve in a variety of locations. Spent a lot of time overseas in the Pacific. I was on Guam, I was in Korea. I actually spent a little time on Hawaii, but I spent a lot of time at the Pentagon. And Pentagon, I would tell you, is a great place to be from. It's great. That picture of the Pentagon in your rearview mirror is really true. But it was a really rewarding career, and I feel incredibly blessed to have gotten to serve. When it came time to look for what's next, someone asked me if I thought I might want to go work at Department of Homeland Security. I didn't know what that was, so I had to Google it. And once I learned, okay, here's another way to serve, and I really thought the mission was really, sort of close to what DoD was doing, clearly not as expansive. I ended up over there. I did a bunch of different jobs to include being, at one point in time, I was acting deputy secretary of the department. So I always tell people, if you woke up in January of 2017 in a cold sweat and you didn't know why, it was because I was the number 2 guy at the Department of Homeland Security. I woke up that January in a cold sweat too, for what it's worth. People ask me all the time, how'd you end up at Endeavors? One of the folks I had the privilege to serve with was General Al Flowers. He's the longest serving African American in DoD history, and the longest serving airman in the history of the Air Force. He served for 46 years, and it was incredible to work for him. And so he called me one day when I was at DHS and said, hey, this organization I'm the chair of the board of is having a problem with getting a payment or something, and he thought I could help them. Long story short, we got connected, and I really felt called to come to Endeavors. So, we packed up, we left our grandkids in Virginia and our daughter, and we moved back out to Texas, where we've been stationed a couple of times here in San Antonio. Endeavors is a really special place. We're a faith-based organization. And all that means is that, we believe in 2 basic beliefs. One is we're here to love God, and the other is we're here to treat each other like we want to be treated and serve all in need. And so this organization is now about 56 years old. It was founded back in 1969 by a man by the name of Dr. Louis Abendon. He was the pastor of the First Presbyterian Church here in San Antonio. And back in the late 60s, San Antonio was experiencing a pretty significant homeless problem, not unlike what the city is experiencing today. But it was being driven at the time by folks being released from state mental hospitals and really having no place to go. So they ended up winding up on the streets in cities like San Antonio. And so, believe it or not, it gets cold here. It was cold one January morning. He came to the church, and on the steps of the church, an individual had perished the night before. So Dr. Zabendon's got a choice to make. He can continue to go inside and serve the needs of the church from inside those doors and serve his flock and his congregation, or he can say, hey, this is a chance for us to rededicate ourselves to serving those in need in the community. For him, and thankfully for us, he chose the latter and began to look at how he could serve those in need outside the doors of the church. And from that, about 9 nonprofits were formed. And they're still here in San Antonio today. We're one of them. There's a variety of others. He brought Habitat for Humanity here, at San Antonio Food Bank. A lot of different organizations were formed out of one man's belief that we were put here to serve all in need. He went down into the basement of that church and started to figure out how to serve. And he didn't have a grant, didn't have a contract, didn't have a donation, but he had that belief. And we tried to keep that same spirit and that same belief system alive and well today. You know, every day we try to ask ourselves two questions. One is, why are we here? Why did we choose to come to Endeavors? What is it about Endeavors' mission that resonated with each one of us in the organization? And the second one is, we always try to ask ourselves at least once a day, what would Zabindin do? Would Zabindin be pleased with what we're doing, or would he go, what in God's name are you people up to right now? I don't understand it. And so we try to always keep that belief system at the forefront of what we do. You know, our mission is simple. You know, we serve vulnerable people in need. You know, today we've grown quite a bit. You know, we're in 49 states. We're on the island of Puerto Rico. We're still in the District of Columbia. We're about 1,800 strong today. You wouldn't know we're in most places, like we're in California, but you wouldn't know it because the work we do there is remote. We do it from our homes. And so you wouldn't see a whole lot of brick and mortar facilities in California, but we are there serving. So we serve a variety of folks. We serve the unhoused. It was the first person that we served, and it'll be the last person that this organization serves, because we believe deeply in serving the unhoused. And we'll talk more about that in just a second. We do a lot for those who are survivors of natural disasters or humanitarian crisis or other man-made type disasters, or even the pandemic. So we do a lot for those survivors. We serve women who are victims of domestic violence. We serve those who have succumbed to substance abuse. We serve children at risk, children who are at risk and who are in need. And then we do a lot, obviously, for veterans, for active duty, for first responders and their families. You know, we're good at four things. We're good at case management. We're good at mental health and wellness, which we'll talk about. We're good at responding rapidly when there is a crisis. We have a large reserve capability. In addition to those 1,800, we have about anywhere between 500 and 1,000 reservists who will leave their current jobs, take leave, and respond when the need warrants, because they believe in our mission. And we're really good at sheltering populations. I know you guys are interested in veterans and what we're doing for veterans, as well as first responders and others. So we'll talk about our work with veterans. We got involved with veterans back in 2012, so almost 15 years ago. Believe it or not, you guys probably know this, but there's within the VA, one of the benefits that a veteran has earned who served honorably is, if they find themselves homeless or about to become homeless, they can come to an organization like ours. They'll not only get temporary financial assistance, but they'll also get that case management support, which is really just building an individualized recovery plan to help them get from where they are today to where they want to be. And so we started serving, it's called Supportive Services for Veterans and Their Families. It's a national program. It's funded by the VA across all 50 states. And we're the largest provider of those services in Texas. And we feel very privileged to be able to do that work. Akin to that is another program that the government has called the Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program, which again is a program that helps homeless veterans find permanent employment, as well as helps them get back into housing. We operate those programs in Puerto Rico, in Florida, and also in Arizona. But as we looked at what we were doing for veterans and their families, we wanted to do more, particularly as it relates to mental health and wellness. And so I don't know if y'all are familiar or not with the Cohen Network. Mr. Cohen is obviously, he's a hedge fund billionaire. He also owns the Mets. But what people don't know is his son graduated from Brown University and then enlisted in the Marine Corps to go serve. And so he served in Afghanistan. He came back and said, "Hey, Dad, my friends can't get access to mental health care fast enough. And, they're really suffering. Is there anything you can do?" So Mr. Cohen put up 275 million of his own money to start 25 clinics across the United States called the Cohen Veterans Network Clinics. And these clinics were stood up to provide access and eliminate barriers to care. So we'll typically be able to see a client within 14 days of contact. Right now, it takes somewhere around 45 days still for the VA, although it's gotten better. There's still a long wait time. We can see them within 14 days. And if we need to see them today, if it's that critical, we'll find a way to get them in. The transportation, if they need an Uber ride, we'll give them a voucher. If you can give them a bus ticket, there's a bus stop right outside our clinics. There's on-site childcare, and the biggest barrier is obviously cost. So with the clinics, we have to ask if they have insurance. If they have insurance, great. If they can't afford their copay, we'll pay it. And if they don't have any insurance, we'll still see them. The other thing we see is family members, because as you guys know, families serve right alongside the military member, and it really is a family business. And so about half the clients we see are family members, about 25% of those are kids. And the really cool thing is they get to choose who the quote unquote family member is. So it's anyone who was impacted by his or her service. Could be an aunt, could be an uncle, could be a friend, could be a partner. Anyone that they designate as a quote family member, we will see. So we have a clinic here in San Antonio. We have one in Killeen, Texas, and we have one in El Paso, and we're about to take over the one that's in Hawaii. As I said, there's 22 across the network. There's several in California. There's one in Los Angeles. There's one in Oceanside as well. And they all, think of them like a franchise. They are all operated the same way, same model, same policies, same procedures, same look in the clinic. And it's a very effective model for short-term care. We typically see somebody and can help folks get back together to better in about 8 to 12 sessions. But we wanted to do more. And so we were looking at what else we could do holistically to help veterans and their families in terms of their overall wellness, their overall resilience, their overall well-being. And we had an individual that had written their thesis on how wellness is really a suicide prevention model. And so we took that and we built the first of its kind privately funded wellness center here in San Antonio. Again, looking at the holistic needs of individuals. So there's 6 principles to that model, and you're going to go, even though a PhD did it, it's not rocket science. Obviously, you want to help with mind and body. You want to provide spiritual support. You want to help with any financial issue. You want to help with getting folks outside, the environmental aspect. There's a connectedness piece as well. You know, veterans are a close-knit community, so you want to get them connected with folks who have similar shared experiences. And then there's just the knowledge piece of helping bring organizations together to further the education to how we can better support those folks in need. So we built the first one here. We're building another one in El Paso, but we learned out of the tragedy of Uvalde that you really don't need that large of a facility to provide that support. After the shooting at the Robb Elementary School, first responders responded, obviously. Federal law enforcement was there. Obviously, you've got the trauma that families and friends faced. And so we stood up a modified version of our wellness concept there and just began serving. And out of that, Customs and Border Protection was one of the folks that responded. They saw what we were doing. They have one of the highest death by suicide rates in all of federal law enforcement. So they asked, hey, what could you do? And so we opened up a modified wellness capability in El Paso. It's now grown to Tucson, and we're also in Laredo, and just supporting holistically their needs and their families' needs, because federal law enforcement's much like the veteran population. It too is a family business. We've also out of our wellness center here in San Antonio, we're doing a lot with transition support. So that first year when military members separate, they call it the danger zone or deadly gap. A lot of folks die by suicide in that first year. So we're getting folks referred to us where we can help assess what resources they need, and that type of support, and then funnel them towards our wellness center. We're doing a lot with suicide prevention, and we're a partner in Face to Fight. I don't know if you've heard of Face to Fight, but Face to Fight is a USAA-led national public-private coalition and partnership where there's about 160 organizations now committed to reducing veteran suicide by 50% by 2030. Where our foundation was one of the founding partners in that effort. So we're just doing a lot to support veterans and their families. I mean, for me, it's one of my whys. I served, and when I served, there was a stigma associated with mental health. I watched a lot of my friends and people I served with take their own life, which is so unnecessary. And so we're very proud of the work we're able to do to support veterans and their families. So that's us in about, I don't know, 15 minutes or less. I probably went longer than I was supposed to. Sorry about that, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
No, that was perfect, sir. By all means, yes, we'll have questions, but no, you're more than enough on the right track there on time. We'll open up for questions. I assume Raymond has one, knowing him.
Wow, thanks. You always front me off on this, but I do indeed hate. May I call you Chip?
Yes, absolutely.
So my question is, since what we've done in the last as a group since 2022 is raise and provide over 33 tons of food to the food pantries on the bases at Irwin, 29 Palms and Camp Pendleton. And we're going to go out on May 2nd. We're beginning our transit, or beginning to bring into the Fold LA Air Force Base. They're having their first food pantry. So if you could give us a referral to a contact from one of your Endeavor people out here, just so they can get in the loop on when we're doing our drives, because I think there's probably we want to eventually expand this to National Guard reservists as well as veterans, as far as food insecurity goes. And so that would, my first question is, if, Connie can send me an email of a contact here in Southern California, and all we want them to do is be aware and look for places that we can work together.
Yeah, so well, here's what we'll do. Most of the folks that we have in California, like I said, work remotely, and they're serving children in need. But as I said, there are 2 colon clinics out there. I know the director of those 2 clinics. She's a wonderful person, and the clinics, part of what they have in there is, believe it or not, a food pantry for folks who are suffering from, as you said, food insecurity. So I'd love to get y'all connected with her. I think that'd be a great resource for you. To your point, it wasn't this past Christmas, but the Christmas and Thanksgiving before. This little nonprofit here in San Antonio, didn't have much of anything, called us and said, there are 10 families that are going to go without Thanksgiving if we don't do something. And you're just like, you got people who are putting their lives on the line, and they don't have enough food because the military, and they were younger folks, right? And the military believes if we wanted you to have a family as an airman, we would have given it to you. And so we helped, and it is a big issue, which is why, our colon clinics have food that our staff just brings in and donates. And we try to keep it full for those that suffer from insecurity or food insecurity. And when we end up, when we serve those veterans who are homeless, food insecurity is obviously one of the issues they face every day. And to me, it's disheartening that you've got people who served and not only served, they served honorably. And they find themselves in this situation where they've lost their home, they don't have enough to eat, they can't feed their family. And to me, it's the least we can do to try to get them back into housing, figure out. And what we do is we really work to figure out the why. What drove you to homelessness? And often the pandemic really drove a lot of folks to lose their jobs and then lose their means to have housing, particularly in Texas, where it was the entertainment. And believe it or not, our top employers other than medical is entertainment and the oil industry, and they both tanked during the pandemic. So I'm with you 1,000%. Connie, if you remind me, I'll connect them with the director out there.
So I'll defer for my questions, Tom, and let somebody else speak up.
Anyone else have a question then?
Well, Mary Ann had one, but I think you're muted, Mary Ann.
No,
Okay.
I didn't have one, thank you.
Oh, sorry. So, well, here's my next thing is that Dominic and I had a long conversation with Vice Admiral William French, who's the CEO of ASYMCA, probably somebody that you're familiar with. Out here in California, Fort Irwin is probably the most remote place for a military family. It's even more remote than 29 Palms. At least there's a community around 29 Palms. Out at Irwin, you've got to travel, what is it, 40 or 50 miles off of the highway to get to it. They don't have an armed services YMCA out there for those 5,000 families living on the base. This is just put in your problem solving hat. If you have somebody who comes up, that's something else we're interested in also is how can we service such a remote location with those families out there? And many of us in this group, by the way, are veterans.
Yeah, I've actually met with Admiral French, and I didn't even know really what they did. And one of the things that, if I remember right, that they do in addition to their core mission is they provide child care, and I think it was them that provides child care, and
It is.
yeah, and so we, as I said, we provide child care with our colon clinics. So one of the things we want to try to do is see if we can partner with them to leverage them, but in that regard. But I think there are a bunch of different ways to get at that, and it's unfortunate that they're in a lot of remote locations, but they're there for the right reason. But I will put that in our list of things to try to help with.
My last question is, as you explore the veteran space for homelessness, is there a primary cause or a set of causes? Is it TBI? Is it drugs? Is it alcohol? Is it lack of transition?
So it depends on the population. So let's take those who served honorably. A lot of times they just lose their job, and they're living paycheck to paycheck, and they don't have the means to take care of themselves. I think that there are a couple of other reasons. One, if you think about junior enlisted people. So when you've got a junior enlisted person that comes in the service, comes in the Air Force, what do they get? They get housing, they get medical, they get 3 meals a day. And then, if you drive by a dorm, what do you see? You see fancy cars, and they are living a pretty good life. And while the military tries to do a good job of helping people manage money and build budgets, they get out, they don't have a real plan, and next thing you know, they find themselves on the street. So I think that's a big issue. Mental health is always an issue. Substance abuse is an issue. And then you get to those who did not serve or got a less than honorable discharge. And those are some of the folks that need our help the most. And there's another program we have that actually serves those folks. But when you think about those folks, and we've all filled out applications, right? And they go, did you serve? Did you serve honorably? No. And, these are 18, 19-year-old kids. And I tell people all the time, it's only by the grace of God that, I didn't get in some of the same trouble that these kids made in terms of a mistake, with drug use or something like that. And they're let go out of the military. And it just becomes a huge mountain to climb in terms of the barriers they have to overcome to get meaningful employment, to get a good place to live and those things. So they can, they typically drift off into other areas, which is why there's, courts and veteran courts and all these things that we have because they don't have the ability to compete the way they did. Now, there are others who deserve, they absolutely 1000% deserve the discharge they got. But a lot of these are just kids that made mistakes, and that's what the rules say, and I support the rules, but it's just tough. But for those that we see, it's not one cause. Homelessness is a very complex issue, as you know, but it all starts with affordable housing. If there's not affordable housing, the rest of it doesn't matter. We can have all the temporary financial assistance that the VA can give, and if there's nobody that will house them because the cost of housing has gone up so much that they can't afford it, then the rest of it doesn't matter. So it really starts with that, but then there's all those other secondary and third order effects that come into play that you have to address, which is really what that recovery plan is designed to do. What are the issues you're facing, and how can we help you?
Do you have a cadre or some kind of program or cadre of people that work on moving dishonorables to general and generals to honorables, or is
So
that
we don't, but we refer people, right?
okay?
So we'll refer them to the local VSO to see what they can do to help. They're obviously there are legal lawyers who specialize in doing that sort of thing. They can also, go through the military system to try to get it reversed. We don't do it, but we'll refer them to people who do.
Yeah, because that is an extremely important component for a lot of young people. You're absolutely right. Absolutely. I didn't know you were making those referrals. That's
Yep.
good. That's it for me, Dominic. I
All
could
right,
talk all
perfect,
day.
fantastic. Well, if anyone else has a question, then, sir, I appreciate everything. Thanks for being here and giving us all this information. We look forward to connecting with the folks that you have out here so that we can really start to light this up in LA. We want to get that knocked out also. So, and in Fort Irwin. So, with that said, more welcome to stay on, but I do understand that you're busy.
Oh.
So if you need to hop off, go right ahead.
Appreciate it,
Thank you
guys.
so
Thanks
much
for
for
what
coming
y'all
out.
are doing for veterans and their families. Much appreciated.
Of course.
Y'all have a great day.
You too. All right. And with that, we'll jump into an Action 360.
So, what we've got coming up is next week is the RILA students coming back from, we sent 5 from Chaparral High School this year, which is really cool. And so we'll be having pizza and hearing about their experiences at the Senior Center this Wednesday at the 30th at 6 p.m. Also, most of us are involved in Teacher of the Year, which is coming up. I know if you haven't gotten tickets and you want tickets, Sylvia will help us get tickets. The lodge just gave its 2 tickets to a school administrator in Charter Oak who expressed desire to go, so we got rid of those. And then we have the governor's visit coming up. Mike, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so that's it's coming up in it's going to be in September. I believe it's Wednesday the 17th. Is that correct, Raymond?
Yeah, I just let me pull it. Yeah, that is. She did say the 17th is the date that the governor requested. Correct.
Yep.
It'll
Yeah,
be
so
via Zoom.
it will be on Zoom. It will be at noon. It's a regular Wednesday meeting. We invited her to the food drive in August. She already has her calendar booked up for that day, but our district governor expressed interest in coming to the next food drive, which will either be February or March, likely, of 2026. So as soon as we lock down a date for that, then I'll get it on the district governor's calendar. And she did say that she wanted to kind of see that in action, because of all the exciting things that we're doing and all the success that we're having as a club. She really wants to see it, in person, and be able to take that knowledge and take it with her to other clubs.
We've moved that food drive. That food drive in 2026 is calendared for March 14th.
March 14th. Okay,
Yeah,
I will let her know.
For Mike's year, because Mike is president in a very, very, what do you got, like 5 weeks, 6 weeks?
It's not very long, maybe 8, 9.
There you go, something like that. Very cool.
Yeah, one more week of April and then 2 months. So coming up fast.
And then the only other thing is the food drive is August 23rd, the next one.
Kickout party.
Kickout party, June 18th, 6 p.m. at Zendejas. And we'll be kicking out, that's sort of our installation. We'll be kicking out, who is our president now? Who is it?
Steve Scott.
And we'll be inducting Mike Wallace, along with any new members. Of course, as you probably all know, May 1st, our newest Rotarian is Doran Barnes.
Excellent.
Perfect. Okay. And then, so that was the calendar. Perfect. So then with that, I think we're pretty good. I think we've kind of wrapped it up. I don't think we have anything big on the closing remarks from me. Other than we already know the food drive and we know what how we're gonna reconnect with Chip. I mean, it sounds like Connie will be sending us the paperwork over on who we're gonna connect with, but that'd be nice to have that over there in LA. So, and then however we can work it out with Fort Irwin, that's still to be determined, right?
Yeah.
So,
I told Admiral French we'd find $250,000 for him to open a YMCA at Fort Irwin, so it's not a big ask.
Not the end of the world by any means. All right. With that said, Sylvia, can you put me on the list to go to the Teachers of the Year? I don't think I've bothered you yet about that, but all right. Then, does anyone have any save rounds?
Just Teacher of the Year, Sylvia, do you know how many tickets are still available? I know I bought mine right away, but it is assigned seating, Dominic, so you probably want to pick where you're sitting.
We have a decent amount still left, but they're moving very quickly. So I would encourage you to grab them sooner rather than later. I just checked the site again.
Wait a minute. Do I pick my seat? I thought I was just assigned a seat.
You can pick your seat.
Yeah, you could pick your seat. Yeah, and it's on. I put it in the chat. So just as a reminder, it's on Tuesday, May the 6th, from 4 to 7. And the MC for the night is Raymond Foster. So it's going to be a great presentation, a great time. So I encourage everybody to be there, please.
What you know is it's going to end on time. That's what you know.
I like it.
Just keep me as far away from Raymond as possible, Sylvia. That's all.
Oh my God.
All right. All right. Everyone go to lunch. Enjoy yourself. Have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.